Good morning, good afternoon, midday, wherever you may be in your day. Thank you as always for making chemistry part of your day. Okay, what I want to show you here on screen capture is how to make a graph in Excel. So I'm going to pop open Excel, hopefully this will work, and I put in some data. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to make a graph. So as always, this is recording. You can pause this as needed, take a look, screen capture, have two screens open, however you work best. Okay, so we got some data in. I'm just going to take density data. So you have some masses, some volumes, another set of masses, another set of volumes. Okay, so if we want to make a graph, first thing we want to do is go up here to the insert ribbon, click on scatter plot, and then choose this upper left one, which is basically your XY scatter graph. Typically speaking, when Excel throws a graph down, it's going to have a lot of junk. Let's get rid of the junk. So right-click anywhere in the white space on the graph. Choose Select Data. And then easiest thing to do is see this remove here right in the middle. Just get rid of whatever's there. Even if some of it's right, it's just easiest just to purge everything out. And if you look, we now have a blank graph, which is okay. Go ahead and hit Add. And we're going to select some data. For series name, it depends. Typically, I leave this blank. There's two ways to input X values. One is click in the box, see how the cursor's flashing there, and then choose your X data. So in this case, I'm going to choose the first column of volume data. And then the other way, let's say I didn't do it that way, is to just click this little button here, choose the data the same way, and then click expand it back out. You do not want to grab a header if you have that with the volume milliliters. It's going to try to graphically try to put the number to that. It won't work, so it's going to change your graph type. So make sure if you have any kind of text in there, you do not grab this. Okay, same thing with the Y value. If you just click in the box like this, make sure you get rid of that little bit of code. Choose the Y data, and you should have something that looks linear at this point. Hit OK, and hit OK again, and you have your graph. So let's do a couple things to clean this up, tidy it up a little bit. Remove the legend, remove the grid lines, and you can just left-click and hit delete, left-click, hit backspace, or you can right-click, and there's delete as the top option. So either way, clean that up. Go into, make sure your chart is highlighted, otherwise it won't be there. So highlight your chart, go up here and look in the chart tools. Choose the second ribbon, which is the layout. Go over to axis titles, horizontal, below. Go back to the axis title, vertical, I like the rotated. Go ahead and put your values in there. This is volume. You should always have units. Put those behind in parentheses. Liters should always be capitalized. I know it looks a little funny going lowercase, uppercase, but that is the proper way for milliliters. This is mass in grams. And we now have a nice graph. Let's go ahead and get that density. Right-click on one of the data points. Notice the data points are now highlighted. They got the little box around it. Choose Add Trend Line. It's the second from the bottom. And linear will be the default. We have the linear. And usually you want to extend your line a little bit. So if you look at the tick marks here, that's usually a good indicator. So if I go forward another unit and backward another unit, that's fine. Let's display the equation. Oh, let's display R squared. Click those bottom two boxes, hit close, and you can see we got a pretty good looking line here. Let's say I accidentally went too far back here. Let's say I went back 1.1 units. Notice how the graph now has this kind of weird spot over here. If you ever have this issue where you need to change where the axis is. So if you look, this is coming down here, and we want to move it to the left. So left click on one of the numbers to highlight the axis. Right click, and you have to do it on the number. I don't know why, it's a little bit odd with Excel. Grab Format Axis, and see where at the bottom it says axis crosses at, and whether if you have the X, it'll say instead of vertical, horizontal. But either way, it's always going to say this, axis crosses at the bottom. The number in the box here should always match the top value here. So you need to change one of those, otherwise your axis labels are going to go through the middle of your graph and look very, very odd. So just make sure whatever's at this top right hand up here matches in the box. And if you notice, now I have a nice clean graph. I'm going to undo those last two moves though, because I thought it looked better here. Control Z is your undo quick key. So there's one graph. So that's one possibility. Another thing is, what if we wanted to put a couple graphs on there and have a couple series? So just to show you another type of graph, which at some point in the semester we'll do, let me make a graph with two plots on it. So basically it's the same idea. Insert, scatter, x, y. Right click, select data, add a plot. We're going to do the same thing here. Take my x data, take my y data, hit OK, and then we're going to add another plot and choose my x, choose my y. And here, perhaps it'd be a good idea to actually give these some data points. But I didn't do a particularly good job with my data, making it up here. Oh, I know what happened. I'm off by a number. Let me cancel out of that. Sorry about this. That's what I get for using made-up data. That should look a little better. Let me go back, right-click, select data, add x data, y data, hit OK, add a second plot, same thing, x data, y data, and that should be up. Okay, that looks a little better. And you can hit OK. Now, if you want to do this, this could be liquid number 2. This could be liquid B, let's say. And if we want to take this, this could be, say, liquid A. Very creative naming. Okay, hit OK. Same thing. Now, since we have more than one graph, it actually probably makes sense to have a legend. I do like to expand this out, though. No need for dead space on my graph. And something like this. We can put in our labels. And let me just shrink this down a little so you can actually get it in there. Oops. And then you can go ahead and right click and add my trend line. If we want to see the graph, we can do that. Put that one above. Add trend line. And maybe put that one below per se. This is a little bit of a mess. And you can see we now have the opposite problem of where our axis crosses. So again, this box here should match the top. It's at -2. Let's just go ahead and move that. And now everything looks all set. And we have two graphs on one. Our fit's good. And we are pretty much done with this exercise. I hope this was helpful for you all. And as always, if you have questions, get help. Have a wonderful day. And thank you, as always, for making chemistry part of it. How do I stop this? Stop. You guys are going to love this part, I'm sure.